There are people who smile when they detach from you, not because they're happy, not because it's simple for them, but because they know exactly what they're doing. Those smiles are the most dangerous signs you can see, because behind them lies a mind more terrifying than anger, more painful than silence, and sharper than anything you've ever felt. Here's a question to start. What makes someone walk away without tears, without explanations, yet still smile? You might say they're cold, you might say they're selfish, but no, they just understand something that you don't yet. In the next few minutes, you'll enter a quiet darkness, one that appears peaceful, but every sentence in it is a trigger, every silence a loud scream in disguise. This video is about the terrifying intelligence of people who smile while detaching. No pleas, no resentment, no explanations, just the presence of someone who's already behind their decision. And right where it starts to be dangerous, because these people don't play by the usual rules. They change the game board with a glance, with a choice, with absence. What you don't realize is that power isn't always noisy. Sometimes the calmest departures cause the greatest explosions in your mind. Freud once said, people who are wounded either shout or smile. But there's one group, the truly dangerous ones, those who smile and then are gone. Do you know why? Because they understand that in this world, the one who cares too much is the one who breaks first. And they chose not to break, not by being heartless, but by being aware, by knowing themselves deeply and knowing what silence can do. Here's what you will discover: why some people leave more impact with silence than with words, how conscious indifference becomes hidden strength, and most importantly, how you can become someone who, even without fighting, without explanations, owns someone's thoughts. These silent smiles, they're not just expressions, they're psychological statements. I left, but you are still stuck. And once you begin to see these signs, you can never ignore them again. I promise by the end of this journey, you'll understand why that final smile wasn't an end. It was a declaration. And you too can reach that point. But before that, let me tell you a story. A real story about a man who never begged, never raised his voice, and even years later never left the mind of a woman. That man never asked her why she left, never asked if she missed him, never followed up. He merely, in that final moment, as she was stepping away forever, looked at her with a gentle smile and said, "Take care of yourself." That phrase, that smile, like a soft blow, yet one that lodged deep in her mind for years. Not because it was profound, but because he didn't explain. And that very lack of explanation planted the deepest feeling inside her. Something broke in that moment. Not in her voice, not in her look, but in her mind. She turned back, not physically, but inward. She began to replay, to question, to wonder. This is where everything starts. When her brain enters the process of rebuilding, what was that? Why did he say, "Take care of yourself"? Did he mean it? Or was it just words? And here you become a mental image, not a person, a question unresolved, an unfinished sentence. And you know what in psychology holds the most power? Not love, not anger, but ambiguity. The human mind cannot tolerate unfinished stories. So it begins to fill the blanks, invent reasons, replay memories. And you, without doing much, become the center. You gave something incomplete, and she has spent years trying to complete it. Just think, who do you remember? The one who was kind? The one who always tried? Number, the one you didn't understand why they left. And if you recognize this, then there's something else you need to know. People who learn to leave in silence share a trait. They don't need validation. They don't need approval. They don't need someone to justify them. Because somewhere, very deep, they learn to save themselves, not through presence, but through complete emotional detachment. Now it's time you look inside. Have you felt this? That moment when, instead of explaining, you simply smiled and walked away. Or someone did that to you? Think, someone popped into your mind just now. That moment you remember? Send it to them right now, not to win anything back, but to acknowledge. And if up to this point, the picture's becoming clear, just give a sign, a like, a nod, because now it's time to go deeper, to the layer where those silences are no longer random, but intentional power. Years ago, in one of the world's most tragic love stories, a man loved a woman whose spirit was free and whose heart was restless. That man gave everything: time, attention, security, affection. Whenever she hesitated, he smiled and reassured her. But the more he gave, the more she drifted away. Not out of malice, out of instinct. And one day the man understood. Love, when boundless, unconditional, oversharing, somehow becomes burdensome to the soul. So he left. No anger, no tears, just a note he left behind. I will always be here, but not when I'm no longer who I've become. And the woman? First silence, then grief, then anger. Then years of rebuilding the mind. He never shouted, he never demanded. But still, even after all that time, he remained unforgettable in her thoughts. Now bring that story to today. You can give everything, you can always be there. But if you lose your weight, if your presence loses its mystery, your voice fades, but your echo doesn't. What captures the mind isn't your presence, it's the rhythm of your absence. Like a bell that rings occasionally. Not too loud, not too frequent, just enough to never be forgotten. Now ask yourself, did you show yourself in such a way that they wanted to complete you? Or did you make it easy for them? Psychology says the human mind is more drawn to what cannot be fully explained. And here's a heavy truth to always remember. People don't chase someone who tells them everything. They chase someone who leaves them wondering. Now you understand why that man stayed in her memory, not because he never left, but because he left in a way that demanded reflection. And now it's your turn. You can make your words matter, but if you can make your silence build the mind, you'll never need anything more. You can stay beside someone months, years, but the moment you decide to walk away, that's when they see who you really are. All those presences, all that affection, all those words, they take their true weight in one moment. A moment when you back away and say nothing. That moment awakens a principle simple yet devastating. Your strength isn't in what you give, but in what they miss when you stop giving. This principle is golden. Not made of shouts, not made of martyrdom, but of boundaries. Your boundary, your respect. What remains unspoken but understood. If you always explain why you're upset, why you hurt, why you've grown weary, you cease to be the message. You become the justification. But if once in your life, with silence you show that respect starts with you, they'll find reasons themselves, and that's where power forms. Where you don't need to speak loudly because your presence means something. Here's a line that strikes like a hammer on the mind. Who can walk away without fear of being lost is never forgotten. You know something 99% of people never do. You begin where others finish. They chase attention, chase voices, chase validation. You command attention because you become enough. You didn't teach them how to hold you. They learned what it means when you stop giving. Not with threats, not with games, but with a truth called, I love myself more than I need to prove to you. And now everything is different. You are no longer someone who craves attention. You are someone whom attention chases. If you've made it here, one question remains. That person who never returned, did they ever leave? Or are they still lost in your mind? Because in the next part, you cross from being seen to being unforgettable. That moment when you stop needing anything and simply being becomes power. One morning you wake up, everything's the same. You check your phone, the air is normal, But something inside has shifted. You're no longer waiting for a message, no longer chasing explanations, not even longing to understand why someone smiled then left. And in that moment you realize you have become one of them, not by losing feeling, not by pretending you don't care, but from a place where you reached the end and knew nothing outside of yourself could rescue you. You are no longer the one whose heart trembles at every absence. You no longer break with every message that didn't come. Now you are the one who, if you choose to leave, will leave without a word, without rage, without regret, just a calm smile in motion. And that smile, is not a sign of joy, nor of insignificance. It's the merciless version of freedom. Freedom from explanation, from proving yourself, from fearing judgment, from being stuck in someone else's mind who can't even see what you meant. This is where ashes gain meaning. You burned, not once, not twice, but many times. And every burn stripped away something of fear, and every scar baptized more truth. Truth that says, strength doesn't lie in being saved. It lies in the silence that follows rescue. And now in the eyes of others, you may seem calm. But you know this, your new armor is forged, not from steel, from experience, from pain, from not being enough, and from silences that taught you how to affect without sound. And now, you either stay here or step into a place where you no longer care what others think. A place where you decide what your presence means, and not the other way around. But right here is when something new appears. A trap deeper than any before. Something that if you're not careful, will take away all this power in one moment. Not from outside, from within you. You came from a place most people don't even dare to look. From wounds without voices, from spaces where no one asked, "Are you okay?" You passed through, not with help, but with cutting off. And now that you've come this far, it's time to know one truth. The greatest threat to someone who's found inner strength isn't outside. You will face it from inside yourself. That moment when you're tempted to explain again, to prove your innocence, to shape how they remember you, to form a story because you feel you owe them clarity. But this time, it's different. You understand real power means your absence speaks louder than your presence, your silence more powerful than any word, and your smile, that moment when you say, "I loved enough, but not at the cost of losing me." Everything has fallen into place. All those separations, those wordless departures, those stares that said nothing yet expressed everything. They built one thing, you. You are not someone cold, not a performance. You are someone who, every time they were broken, reclaimed themselves. And now the question you asked at the very start, it's time you get your answer. What makes someone walk away without tears, without explanations, yet still smile? The answer is simple. They learn to save themselves without asking anyone to stay. And now it's your turn, not for forced silence, not for pretending you don't need them, but for becoming the presence that matters, even when you're gone. Today you have one practice. When you feel the push to explain because you think someone needs proofs, silence, smile, and tell yourself, they who need to understand will without my words. If even one moment resonated, one blink of recognition, 1 second where you saw yourself in this journey, hit like, not for them, not for show, but for you, because this is only one piece of the puzzle. The next video isn't just a continuation, it's a gateway to the stage where not only will nobody forget you, but you will never lose yourself. Let me know when you want voiceover cues, emphasis points, or if you need the script adapted for spoken delivery, timing, etc.